Welcome. Today, we are diving into a seriously atmospheric, honestly kind of chilling explainer. We're unpacking a fascinating piece of supernatural folklore, a really intense account known as The Secret of Chandipur Village. You know what I love about this story is how it perfectly mashes up the very real, relatable anxiety of a modern-day workplace deadline with deeply rooted ancient ghost lore. It's basically a chronological thriller about a midnight delivery gone terrifyingly wrong. We're going to break down exactly how this tension builds step by step.
So right off the bat, the narrative hits us with this huge, dramatic question. What happens when a routine midnight medicine delivery leads you straight into a 10-year-old ghostly vendetta? Our guy, Sumit, well, he isn't some paranormal investigator looking for a thrill. He's literally just a guy trying to save his job by delivering this crucial medicine packet to the super remote Sonajuri village. I mean, we can all relate to that insane deadline pressure, right? But it's exactly this mundane, desperate need that forces him to cross paths with an ancient, vengeful tragedy.
Section 1. The Desolate Midnight Arrival. The account wastes absolutely no time in isolating our protagonists. The whole thing kicks off precisely at midnight, 12 a.m. The story really emphasizes this exact time to highlight just how incredibly vulnerable Sumit is as he steps off the train. The Chandipur station platform, completely empty. And as that train chugs away into the night, he's just left, standing there. Nothing but a medicine box in his pocket, and this creeping, awful sense of dread. It's a brilliant setup for the sensory trap Sumit is walking right into. The text paints this incredibly vivid picture for us. Imagine a thick, blinding fog completely blanketing the area. The station master's cabin is totally pitch black, right? It's illuminated by just this one, solitary, flickering yellow light that looks like it could die at any second. And out in the distance, you've got the eerie sound of howling dogs cutting right through the silence. Against all these massive environmental red flags, Sumit is anchored by one single thought. He absolutely has to complete this delivery or he's going to lose his job. That internal pressure is the catalyst. It's what forces him out of the relative safety of the station and straight into the terrifying unknown. Section 2. The Tea Seller's Warning. Now, as Sumit navigates through that blinding fog, he finally spots the only sign of life, a faint little glow from a lantern at an old tea stall. This is where he meets Raju, the tea seller. Sumit asks him for directions, and Raju just reacts with sheer disbelief. He warns Sumit that the jungle roads are incredibly treacherous. He's like, you absolutely should not go out there at night. But Sumit insists. He brings up his job, and that's when Raju delivers this bone-chilling warning. What you see isn't always human. He tells Sumit that if anyone calls out to him, do not stop, and whatever you do not look back. If we're looking at this analytically, Raju serves as the classic harbinger trope here. You know, the final completely ignored warning right before our protagonist crosses the threshold into pure danger. But of course, driven by pure desperation, Sumit ignores the warning. Let's map out this descending trap he falls into. Step 1, he hears the rattling sound of what seems like an old machine, and this battered black auto rickshaw just emerges from the dark. The driver's face, completely hidden in the shadows. Step 2, Sumit gets in, kicking off a seriously creepy 20-minute ride deep into the jungle. And step 3, the auto breaks down with a massive jolt. Sumit is left stranded and is eventually forced out near an abandoned house. Boom. He is now completely at the mercy of his environment.
Section 3. The Jungle Auto Trap.
Let's actually zoom in on that claustrophobic journey for a second. Have you ever been in a cab where the driver is just paying a little too much attention to you? Yeah, it's unsettling. Well, there's this terrifying detail from the text. The air grows unnervingly cold, and as Sumit sits in the back, he realizes the driver isn't even watching the dark, winding jungle road ahead. Nope, he is continuously staring right at Sumit's pocket through the rearview mirror. Sumit assumes the guy is eyeing the medicine, maybe thinking it's something super valuable. This detail cranks the tension up exponentially. So when the auto suddenly halts in the middle of the pitch-black jungle, it hits us. This isn't some mechanical failure. It's a planned ambush.
Section 4. Ambush of the Spirits.
And this brings us right to the terrifying climax. The driver forces Sumit out and points him toward this old, decaying wooden house to go ask for directions. Sumit walks up to the door, and before he even lays a finger on it, it just creaks open on its own. The auto driver, whose name is Bola, and his accomplice, Kalu, show up. But here's the thing. They don't walk through the open door. They walk straight through the solid wood. Suddenly, this horrifying transformation takes place. Their faces literally begin to melt, their eyes start glowing like red-hot embers, and their feet are just hovering above the ground. They reveal they haven't been human for 10 years. They are spirits starved for a kill. Using this dark levitation magic, Bola just raises his hand and suspends Sumit in midair, getting ready to torture him.
I want to pause the narrative right here, at the absolute peak of danger, to ask you guys a question. Alone in the haunted jungle, suspended in midair by vengeful spirits, his bones feeling like they're literally about to snap, who on earth can save Sumit now? He actually closes his eyes and starts praying. He's thinking of his family, completely certain that this is the end.
Section 5. The Phantom Police Protector.
Well, let's see how this builds into an explosive supernatural rescue. Just as death seems inevitable, this blinding blue light flashes through the pitch-black room. A thundering voice echoes, and I mean so heavily that the entire wooden structure actually shakes. Leave him. The spirits instantly step back in pure terror, dropping Sumit straight to the floor. And stepping out from that radiant light is a figure in a full police uniform.
The visual details in this scene are just incredible. The officer doesn't even draw a gun. His face is kind of blurred out, but there's a glowing brass nameplate shining super clearly on his chest, Inspector Datta. When those evil spirits actually try to attack him, screaming about how this is their territory, Inspector Datta just raises his bare hands. He emits these powerful shockwaves of pure energy that send the spirits flying backward. They literally burn in midair as they get thrown straight through the walls of the house. It's wild. He effortlessly banishes the evil, turns to a terrified Sumit, tells him he's safe, and commands him to sleep. And Sumit? He just immediately blacks out.
Section 6. The Legend of Chandapur. Okay, so how does this all connect? Well, Sumit wakes up the next morning, not in the creepy haunted house, but right back on the wooden bench of Raju's tea stall. At first, he's convinced the whole thing was just a really bad nightmare. But then, Raju breaks down the historical reality of what actually went down. 10 years ago, Bola and Kalu were these totally ruthless criminals who kidnapped and murdered travelers. Inspector Datta tried to bring them to justice, right? But the criminals managed to trap him in that exact same old wooden house and burned him alive. Before he died, though, Datta swore this eternal vow that he would never, ever let them go. Shortly after that, Bola and Kalu ended up dying in a mysterious fire in the very same house. So today, Inspector Datta's spirit remains bound to the jungle, acting as an eternal guardian for any innocent travelers who happen to wander into their trap. This totally brilliant backstory perfectly illustrates the supernatural conflict at the very heart of this local folklore. On side A, you've got the evil spirits, Bola and Kalu. They're driven by a 10-year cycle of sheer hunger and malice, basically bound to the road to just continue their predatory ways. But then on side B, you have our guardian spirit, Inspector Datta. He's driven by an incorruptible, eternal vow of duty. The uniform he wears in the afterlife, it isn't just clothing. It represents an ironclad oath to protect, an oath he's upholding even beyond death. It's just a fascinating look at how mythology balances the scales of good and evil. So Sumit, finally realizing he was saved by this phantom protector, grips his medicine packet, which is still completely untouched by the way, and just runs straight back to the train station. He makes a firm vow right then and there to never take a dangerous shortcut again, and as he leaves, he looks back into the foggy jungle one last time. He sees a blurry figure in a khaki uniform raising a hand in a final salute before completely vanishing. Sumit survived his nightmare, for sure, but it leaves us with this really lingering provocative question. As the train whistle blows, how many other people owe their lives to the unseen guardian of Chandipur's fog? It is such a gripping tale, and it really reminds us that sometimes, out there in the dark, justice never actually sleeps. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, guys, and keep your curiosity sharp.